All right, the eve of the Final Four. In fact, we are just under 24 hours away from Auburn for the second time in 5 tournaments playing for a shot at a national championship. Jim Dunaway, Taylor Korn. It is Final Four time on the basketball show as we get ready for the biggest of games. And I've said this a couple of times this week, and I'll start off with this to lead you into you sharing with us what you've experienced today. But Coach freaking K, Coach K, the guy who is, when I think of Final Fours, I think of Coach K at Duke, retired now for a few years. He talks about this venue, the Final Four, every year. He says it is the promised land of basketball, that in the Elite Eight, if you win that, you're a champion. You're a regional champion. You cut down the nets, confetti falls, and then you cross a bridge into the promised land. And then 4 champions get a chance to play each other for a bigger prize, but everybody there is a champion. Taylor Corn is in the promised land, which this year is San Antonio. What was it like today there on the other side of the bridge?
It's insane how much extracurricular stuff all of the players, all of the coaches do when they're there. And that's something that I asked some of the Auburn players about in the locker room is how do you balance the amount of media obligations that you have for, the local media, national media, the media that travels, and then the NCAA, because they're doing stuff for, March Madness, the NCAA tournament, those people. And it seems like they're all just having a blast.
I feel like if there's ever a team that their DNA and chemistry would absorb the light of the brightest of spotlights, it is this team.
Yes, yes. They are one of the most unserious, serious teams, if that makes sense. I feel like when they're on the court, they're obviously locked into the game, but they are the goofiest team. They're always messing with each other. And I think that they're eating it up. And I asked Chris Moore about, what we were just talking about, how you balance preparing for a game and staying focused with everything else that they have going on. And he said he had the biggest smile on his face and he said, I love it, honestly. He basically said, I love that this many people care what I have to say about something, which made me laugh because I'm like, you've been doing this for 3 weeks now. But he was like, it's fun. He said, I enjoy talking to the media. I like when they come ask me random questions. And it feels pretty good that this many people care about what you've got to say.
Well, you were inside the Alamo Dome today. We want to talk to our you about that, the experience, the shooting lines, maybe how it all should play out tomorrow at 5:09 when Auburn takes on Florida. Auburn, a slight underdog. It's been moving 2.5 to 3 to 2.5 to 3 to 2.5. So it's going to settle right there when we tip off. That's going to be the point spread where Auburn, the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament, will be a slight underdog. And if you're a person that follows the betting world, then most people in the betting world, little T, likes to be on the opposite side of the public. If America loves a team, then you want to be the other team. And I would tell you right now, that small little number for Florida has all the people who are just common gamblers and bettors, not the smart people, not the sharps, but the common American love Florida in this game. And if you're a contrarian or people that follow betting industries, that's usually a good sign for the slight underdog, which is Auburn in this case.
And I feel like Florida is favored, rightfully so. They looked like the best team in the country to wrap up the season. Now they've been in some close games throughout the first 2 weekends of the NCAA tournament. But I mean, I think that Auburn, they seemed to be at the mountaintop when Auburn was slipping up a little to end the season. So that doesn't surprise me by any means, just because of how these teams have looked as of late. And I think that that's exactly how Bruce would like it to be. And honestly, I think that's how the players want it to be too.
That's right. Off the spotlight there. Taylor Corn in San Antonio, Jim Dunaway here in Birmingham. The basketball show. We've been doing this since November. The plan is to keep rolling into 25-26 season and keep doing this. You guys have been fantastic. We appreciate your praise so much, and we appreciate the great folks at Culver's who have brought us the coverage since round one of the NCAA tournament. Thank you to Culver's. Great locations all over America, in Middle America and Eastern America, and of course in the Southeast. Our two local locations closest to our studios, right off Highway 280 at Tattersall, and then Highway I-459 and Highway 150 right there in Hoover by the Hoover Met. Those are our two local Culvers. But wherever you see Culvers, enjoy the delicious, fresh, hand-patty burgers. I go with the double. You can get a triple. You can get a single. For desserts, you can go with the custards, for whatever you want in there, and just enjoy a great meal with our friends at Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. G, they call me G, checks in. So excited. Let's get to it. He's ready to go. T Powell jumps in with a War Damn Eagle today. Randy says, War Eagle, let's hoist that trophy on Monday. I will just say, let's take care of Saturday, and then you worry about Monday on Monday, one at a time. NH342245 says, War Damn Eagle there as he jumps in. Seth says, longtime Auburn men's basketball fan, Coach Bruce Pearl is the best. I'll start right there with Steph's comment about Coach Pearl being the best. Today, named the Co-Associated Press Coach of the Year with Rick Pitino, who had St. John's as a 2 seed. First time in the history of the Associated Press Men's College Basketball Coach of the Year award that they have had a tie, that they shared that. You've been around Bruce for a couple of days now, all season long, but on this platform here, Bruce is one of those guys, too, that likes to play it loosey-goosey.
He does. Oh, my gosh. I don't know what just happened. I almost just choked.
That's how it happens.
does.
It's an excitement thing.
He does. And one thing that stood out to me today was how often the players were speaking about him in the locker room. This team adores Bruce Pearl. And think about the fact that the way that he speaks about Todd Pettiford, and this says a lot about Todd also, but the fact that he was able to get an elite, a very, very talented young player that would probably be starting at the majority of the Division I basketball programs, he got him to buy in to being the sixth man on this team. And like Bruce has said a number of times, he doesn't complain. We haven't heard a word from him about it. He started one game when Denver Jones was out, but he's bought in. And I think the players respect him so much. And they love him. You heard Dylan Cardwell talk about him on the podium today. Forrester sent out some sound from that. But, I mean, these players love Bruce Pearl. Auburn fans obviously love Bruce Pearl. And I think he's done an incredible job this season. I mean, I think I don't really know what the realistic expectation was heading into the season, but I think there were a lot of questions. There were a lot of questions about what this team was going to look like. They had returners that Auburn fans were very, very familiar with. Johni Broome, Dylan Cardwell being two of those that play a major role on this team. But then you never know how the pieces of the puzzle are going to fit together. So I think he's done an incredible coaching job this year. They've had an historic season, and they're still playing in April. So there's not much more you can ask for.
Before we get to NH3425 super chat comment, Donald wants to say if Auburn can stay focused, they can win it all. Listen, superstition is one thing; it doesn't impact the game at all. But I was texting with some folks higher ups with Auburn last night when I was doing some research because I'll admit, Taylor, I was FOMOing last night, and I have to admit I was like, well, if I was in San Antonio right now, where would I be going to dinner? So I just searched. I did. I was like, where would I be going to dinner? And I searched best places, Google, best places to eat in San Antonio. And the first thing popped up was a story says, let the San Antonio Spurs tell you where to eat while you're at the Final Four. So I start reading the story. Well, the first restaurant that's recommended, and there's 10 recommendations, 4 of them in this location. The first place that's recommended is right next to a historic hotel that is built in 1883 in San Antonio. And it's 22 acres, the little location. 22 restaurants, on 22 acres, music, entertainment district, water pads for kids. It's been around since 1883. It's called the Pearl, the historic Pearl. And I went, are you kidding me? The historic Pearl Hotel and Restaurant Area Entertainment District is in San Antonio. And who coaches Auburn? The Pearls? I was texting divine intervention. And it's called Historic Pearl. And who's been talking about history all year? Bruce Pearl.
None other than Bruce Pearl.
I mean, the historic Pearl. If you get by there, take a picture of the sign and let me know what it looks like. All right, to the super chat here. Listen. We don't the the super chat money. Very nice of you to throw that at us. We'll donate it to maybe NIL of whatever school we're talking about when you guys do this. We appreciate it so much. But we're not a show where you have to send us a super chat, but we do appreciate it. Oh, did I lose it? Nope. I kicked myself out on one computer here. Right there is NH325, and he jumps in and he says, 3 keys to victory. Give me those keys to victory in your opinion. What he is saying there. Tell me the 3 keys.
That NH3425s are mine.
Let's go with his since he paid for it here. And I'm back in. I can read them now. My bad.
Okay. I didn't know where we were going there.
My 3 keys for Auburn to win: 75% or higher on free throws. That probably will mean Dylan and Johni need to have a day, but I think that's doable, right?
Yeah.
Limit turnovers, and defense must shut down Florida's 3-point shots. Down at Neville, you and I were there at that game. Walter Clayton Jr., but the rest of the team had a historic day of shooting the basketball. They couldn't miss. They had one of those days, and Auburn didn't play their best defensive game. As I've watched Auburn all year long, I've loved their perimeter defense. What do you think about his keys? Pick one of those out and talk about them there, and then tell me your keys to the game.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, free throw shooting has to be better, and that's one of the things that I actually noted that I'm going to be paying attention to, because that's been a struggle. And we've come on here a number of times after Auburn games saying, if they can't clean that up, they're going to put themselves, in a situation, or not going to, but it's not going to be surprising if they put themselves in a situation where free throws become vital. You're in a very tight game, and it's free points. It's the charity stripe. Those are free points. So I agree that you need to take advantage of the opportunities that you get. Limit turnovers. Outside of the Michigan game, where Auburn had an uncharacteristically high number of turnovers, I think that's been one of the strengths of this team. Their assist turnover ratio has been one of the best in the country. I think the best in the SEC, if not very close to the top. So that has been a strength. So I think if they can continue to build off of that, they'll be good there. And then I agree with what you said. Perimeter defense has been a strength. Chad Baker-Mazara went on a 1-30-second rant. Or not rant. It was a complimentary rant. I feel like rant has a negative connotation. But he was very complimentary, bragging on Denver Jones's defensive efforts. And I think that's also a strength of Auburn's, but it comes down to, are you going to show up? And now you have to. And I think going home and getting rest for a little less than a week was probably very beneficial, because a lot of these guys are banged up and have been dealing with injuries for the majority of the season. But Auburn's had an electric offense this season, but their defense has been not talked about a ton at times. And I think that's another strength. But like you said, the last time that they played Florida, they were unconscious shooting the ball. Walter Clayton Jr. was just, throwing the ball up and it was going in. So there are nights where that's going to happen, and there's not much you can do about that other than taking advantage of your possessions. And that's what they're going to have to do.
Some basketball coaches call it the 4-point line, extended out from the 3-point line, the 4-point line. And Walter Clayton Jr. is one of those guys. You can't just guard him on the 3-point line. You got to guard him on the 4-point line. You got to be almost out in the logo on him, or he can hit those shots like he did down at Neville. Thank you for the comment there. War Eagle, I'm already stressing, according to Andrew. I have a feeling a little extra deodorant tomorrow for you, little T. It'll be a stress day for you as well.
Yeah, I always get I get nervous when they're about to tip off. They take the court, and I'm like, okay, here, the game's about. Here it is. Here it is. It's now or never. It's now or never. But yeah, probably. I probably need a little extra deodorant tomorrow. I'll probably be a little
Yeah.
nervous.
I understand. King MJ205, Jim rocking the Auburn orange. For the record, no, this was the golf shirt of choice today. It's a black clover, and I'm not even sure this is Auburn orange. It may be Florida orange. It's just a accident here. I have a friend agreement with Taylor. I am in no way predicting or making predictions about any game this weekend on either side of the bracket. It is a in blood statement. Friendship, unite. No predictions for
You're
me this
right.
weekend. Hunter says, just hopping in to say, War Dam, the Bussies are hyped for the game tomorrow. Legendary radio guy, Bill Bubba Bussy, Hunter, wife and sister in San Antonio, as a lot of people are. How have the fans been there? You've been out and about now for almost 24 hours after some travel issues. How's Auburn Nation, the witnesses showing up?
There was a good showing at the open practice, because the practice was not only open to the media but fans that were here. It was free entrance. You can come watch any team that you want to come. You can come sit for 4 hours and watch all four teams practice. And there were some Auburn fans. I saw some in the airport, and there are some just wandering the streets of San Antonio. So I think it's going to be a good showing. I think that every fan base is going to be well represented. I think it's going to be hard to get a comparison until we're in the arena tomorrow and everyone is consolidated to one place. But I've seen a decent amount of Auburn fans.
Yeah. Let's see. Donald says Auburn 70, Florida 66. That would be a classic game. Nathan says obviously shooting is important, but what other things has Pearl said that he has focused on this week? I don't know what Bruce or Steven have said about it, but I will tell you, people that I have talked to that know basketball that will say one key to the game for Auburn will be the ability to get downhill with the offense, that they'll want to turn the corner on the defenders and still get downhill. Even though Florida will throw some size, athletic size at them, they still want to get downhill with the basketball. The guards not settling for hard threes, but still turning that corner and driving to the basket and getting into a downhill motion with the offense, where the offense just isn't going side to side and just settling for late in the clock 3-point shots. So that is what some basketball people have told me about the importance of Auburn's offense against what Florida will try to do defensively. NH3425, Auburn 80, Florida 75. That would be a little bit even better basketball game than the one we just talked about there. Scott says, are the women really big there, like Charles Barkley says? Dylan Cardwell had some comments about that, little T.
He did. Dylan Cardwell said that he has not seen the woman that Charles Barkley was talking about. I haven't really either. I haven't been seeking them out nor paying attention. I've spent most of my time in the hotel and in the arena. But no, everyone here looks pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, it was a funny line back in the day. It's just a lot of churros. I've seen Charles eating those. Quinn jumps in. Been here in San Antonio since Tuesday. I'm nervous for tomorrow. I would just love to see us playing for it all on Monday night. Hopefully, we win tomorrow night. War Eagle. Win tomorrow night, and then you're the SEC rep in the national championship game. That would be history again. This is the second Final Four. It would be the first time ever you would play 40 minutes to be the national champions. That is on the table this weekend, obviously. And when you say that out loud, you don't want to talk about it yet. There's a lot to do tomorrow. But Monday at 7:50 or whatever time it'll tip off, that would be special just to have 40 minutes and a shot to get it done, T.
It would, and like you said, it would be historic for Auburn. And another thing that Dylan Cardwell said when he was in the main media room earlier this afternoon was, he said, I want to win a national championship for this girl. And I think I mean, Dylan's great. Dylan's a great interview. He's great with the media. And that's also something that that Denver Jones said was, we know Auburn basketball is bigger than us. Like, we want to succeed because, again, we love Bruce Pearl, and we want to succeed because of how, not loyal isn't the right word, but how supportive our fans have been. You know, there was a big showing in Lexington, there was a bigger showing in Atlanta, and there seemed to have been a lot of Auburn fans that traveled to San Antonio. So what's on the players' minds right now is doing this for their coaches, doing this for the fans that have been uber supportive throughout the season.
Big Don Corn checking in with
Hey,
War
Dad.
Eagle Revenge Weekend. Little hey dad there from you. You look so sweet and innocent when you say hey dad there, not the usual aggressive, I'm going to tell you how it is, Dunaway type when he's not on the chat here. Get that smile going. So give me what it was like today, shooting lines inside the dome. You were there with me at the desert last year, watching Alabama UConn and the games there. Compare that dome stadium to the dome stadium you're seeing now. Is that one bigger than the one today? This one at one time hosted the San Antonio Spurs. So I feel like maybe this one maybe is a better basketball setup, or is it almost exactly like last year's setup when you were at the Final Four last year?
It's very similar because the court is elevated. And so the broadcast team, everyone that's sitting courtside is basically eye level with the court. And then there's a drop off. So when we were able to go shoot video of practice, you're walking upstairs to get onto the court. You walk out onto the court on ground level, and then you're walking upstairs to step on the court. And then the distance from behind the basket to the first row of seating for fans it looks like you're looking into a black hole because the lighting is all focused onto the court. The upper deck and around the stadium is not super lit. It's a lot darker. So I think the depth perception wise, it's going to be interesting. They looked like they were acclimated because their shots were falling, and it's practice. It's a shoot around. So you never know what's going to happen during a game, but I could see how it would mess up your depth perception because in Neville Arena and in the majority of the SEC arenas that they were playing in throughout the season, the fans are right there. So you're shooting, and then there's 20 feet maybe until the first row of fans, and then that area doesn't have spotlights on it. So it's very dark. But one thing that I found very interesting was Miles Kelly was talking about when he was at Georgia Tech, they went and played at Syracuse where they play in the Carrier Dome, which I think holds seats 30. I think for basketball it seats around 30,000, maybe 35-ish. And he said, I got acclimated there. He said, that's what, and maybe that's the reason. I mean, Rupp Arena is one of those massive arenas as well. Maybe that's the reason he has success there. But he said, I got used to it. And maybe it's a mind thing that he's telling himself, I've done this before, but he was convincing in saying, I feel good about it because I've done this a time before. I've played a game. I haven't just practiced here. I've played a game in a football stadium.
Yeah, and the Carrier Dome is the football stadium that they also use for basketball. It is a lot like this, not exactly, but a lot like this. But I've said it on the air this week that Rupp Arena is the closest regular basketball arena that has a feel to me because of the lighting of a playing in one of these dome settings, just because of the darkness behind the basket, the brightness on the court, and the hugeness of Rupp Arena. I feel it's a lot like shooting in one of these domes. And that's why when we were doing prop bet discussions today on the next round on the player who would score the most points in the Final Four at 75-1, I took Miles Kelly, who has not been shooting it well. Your mom also checking in
Oh
says
my gosh, Mom, it's a family affair.
Dylan Cardwell brought Bruce to tears. Did he bring Bruce to tears today?
He did. He went
Tell me
on.
about that.
It was in the main media room. And I can't remember what the question was. I was in the locker room during this time, so I just saw the clip of it. But he, went on to say, I've been here for 5 years. So Dylan's been on a roller coaster in terms of he's been through some highs and he's been through the valleys as well because, he's been there for a hot second. And I think that he has a really, really, really close relationship with Bruce, obviously. And it came after what I said earlier when he was talking about how much he loved Bruce. And he said, every day when I pray that we can win a national championship for Bruce Pearl. He ended response. I don't know if this was the last question that he was asked, but he ended his response saying, "I love God, I love Auburn, and I love Bruce Pearl." And
Mm.
then Bruce was asked the next question, and he was wiping his eyes. It was a sweet moment. It was a sweet moment, and you can tell. I mean, you can tell how much those guys love each other.
Yeah, I can tell you firsthand that I've got dear friends of mine who live next door to Dylan in Auburn, and they say he is absolutely the most genuinely sweet young man that you will ever meet. And they live next to him, so he's not putting on a show just for a brief moment when you're meeting him out in the lobby. When you live next to somebody, you know what type of person they are. And they said he is absolutely the sweetest young man they've ever met. Blake says, "It's so weird, bro. I've been throwing up nervous before
Oh
every
no!
Auburn game they've played this year. I'm not nervous today. It's super crazy, y'all. I've got a feeling we're damn Eagle."
And I don't think it's great. If someone were to walk up to me and say, "Why do I feel really confident going into this game tomorrow?" Florida is an extremely talented team. No one's denying that. But I think what's giving Auburn fans, I don't want to call it a sense of peace, but a little bit of confidence is if you go back and watch the way that this team was playing in Maui, the way this team played at Houston, not it was a neutral site game, but a mile from their campus, basically at Houston. We walked out of Neville Arena a number of times this season and got on here to do our post game show, and I was kind of speechless. I would sit there and watch the game and say, "What in the world?" Because when this team gets going, they can get going. I mean, we saw it during the Michigan game, their comeback. When they're on, they're on. And there have been a number of times this season where we're like, if this team can continue to play like this, they're unbeatable. And the confidence level started to waver when, they lost 3 of the last 4. They weren't looking like themselves down the last stretch of the season, but I think it's the hope of knowing what we've seen earlier this season, the majority of the season really, seeing how elite this team looked. So it's in there somewhere. You just got to dig it back out.
Our Stu says over under is 159.5. I'm thinking under. What do you guys say? I usually have to do this in my head. So 159.5 is almost 160. Half of 160 is 80. So I start working back from there. 80 seems to be so 80-79 would be an under. Um these are two really good offenses, but they're two top 10 defenses. I'll let you go first. Over under 159.5 for the total.
I'm saying over only because the over has hit in 11 straight Florida games. That is quite literally the only reason I'm saying that. That trend could end tomorrow, and I could be giving you bad advice right now, but that's my answer, and that's the explanation. But 80, I mean, nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me because, like you said, these are two elite offenses, but they're two good defensive teams too. So it's not like they're going to go out there and it's who can hit the most shots because no one's going to be playing defense. They're good defensively. So if players are struggling because of the depth perception, because of the adjustment to playing in this massive building, then yeah, I would lean the under. But this Florida's been on a roll.
Yeah, I'll go under because of the defense, maybe a little nerves, shooting background early on. If you can play it in the first half, I'd play under in the first half, and then not have to worry about all the late points of fouling and all that down the end. Um, Scott says people have to realize they were the hunted team, number one for 2 months in the toughest conference in the country, and they only lost 3 games in conference. Think what kind of pressure they were under all that time. I've said that before, Scott. That's a great point by you. From the moment they won the Maui Classic and they came back from Maui, they were sort of a team with a target on their back, and they were playing up to expectations all year long. And a lot of those weeks, how many weeks was it? 8 weeks straight. They were the number one team in the AP poll. That brings that pressure with you. So this team handled a lot of pressure. And then when they lost 3 or 4, there were people that started doubting them, but that's when Bruce Pearl's mind games, I thought, played its best. He never panicked. He never putting the extra pressure on these guys, even with the early exit at the SEC tournament. And they seem to have their swagger and be comfortable again. And you were at the shoot around today. They were cutting up. I saw Johni and Chad Baker-Mazara. Johni kept shooting, backing up and shooting and bumping into him after he would drain a three. And Chad Baker was trying to talk to somebody. He just kept laughing at him like, bro, stop doing this. I'm trying to talk to this person here. They were just cutting up, having a good time.
Yeah, and something that I've thought about recently is the fact that this stretch of the season where I think their only loss was to Duke, but they had won the Maui. They had won the neutral site game over Houston. They beat Purdue in Birmingham. They had a lot of impressive wins, and Auburn was starting to gain a lot of attention nationally. I think they played their best when everyone thought they should be ranked number one, but they weren't. It was week after week that, the AP poll comes out and they're like, we're not losing. What more do we have to prove? What more do we have to do? We're beating the teams that you put in front of us. How come we're not ranked number one? And I think it was the stretch that Tennessee was ranked number one. They hadn't lost a game. But I think they play their best when they feel like they have something to prove.
No stage bigger than the one that is set in San Antonio right now. Colin says every time Chaney Johnson plays good, Auburn wins. If he gets at least 10 points, they'll win this game. Henner says Taylor is there. I don't know why I called you Stacy. Taylor, where is the best place to get Auburn merch down there? I remember last year they had cool merch places set up in team hotels and fan hotels. Has that been the best merch place, or should you wait at the stadium? You have any advice for the fans?
Okay, so there is a place I can tell you the street if you give me 1 second. I was walking. I had to go to the.
Let me tell them about Culver's while you look that up real quick. How about that? Culver's brings you all of our postseason coverage here. Great locations all over the country, the free America that we live in. You can go by Culver's and enjoy great, never frozen, hand patted meats for your hamburger. They've got chicken. They've got fish on Fridays. They got fish all the time. If you want it on Fridays or you want it on Saturdays or Sundays, they got it for you. And don't forget the great desserts. The custards are so good. Really, it's what I first fell in love with Culver's was the custards. And then I worked my way back in the menu and fell in love with the butter burger. You get it all there. It's Culver's. Welcome to delicious, Taylor.
Okay, so there is if you go to the intersection of East Commerce Street and Alamo Plaza, there's Kilwins. If y'all know what Kilwins is, it's that ice cream chocolate dessert place. That's incredible. I think they're mostly at the beach. But if you look up Kilwins on Alamo Street, it's that corner. I can't tell you the name of the place because I think it's just a pop-up that they put in a storefront that was empty. But it's officially licensed team stuff. So they have Auburn, they have not Tennessee, they have Florida, they have Duke and Houston stuff, but it's a store and they have hats, they have a bunch of t-shirts. I sent out a video on the Next Round's Twitter and Facebook yesterday, and I think it's on our Instagram story yesterday, showing some of the Auburn stuff that they had there, but they had a ton, and then they just have generic Final Four stuff with all 4 team logos on it. That's the best stuff that I've seen so far. I did not go looking for it in the arena when I was there earlier. I was in the depths. I didn't go up to the main concourse where that stuff would be, so I cannot speak on what they have there. But I can say that place had really good stuff. And then they had polos like what Dunaway's wearing with the Final Four patch on the side, team logo. They had a ton of stuff. So I would recommend that place.
I've gotten T-shirts at both Final Fours I've been to, and I bought when I was with Auburn in Minneapolis. We were staying at the Mall of America, so we were a long, long way away. And so I did not buy at the team hotel. I bought at the stadium. And then last year at the Alabama hotel, the team hotel, we were right next to that. And I bought in the team hotel, and I enjoy the selection I had at the hotel or off-site, like Taylor is talking, and than I do at the stadium. And another thing that allows you to do, in my opinion, it allows you to buy off-site, leave it in the hotel room, and not buy it at the arena and have to put up with it and deal with it the entire game. Buy it out off-site, make sure it's licensed. They've got pop-up shops everywhere. Buy it there, and then throw it back in your room, and then go enjoy the game and not have to keep up with that bag all night long. I will tell you this: it is it's a souvenir. It's a keep. I wear my. I got two last year and one in 2019. I wear them all the time. I love those Final Four T-shirts. By the way, you're in for a treat, and you're already experiencing this. You know, my guys at Field of 68, the great basketball podcast. I listen to them all the time. I read their stuff. They said there are two cities that stand apart hosting the Final Four, and they've been covering basketball between them for about 30 years. And of all these sites the Final Four goes to, they say the best two cities to host the Final Four are Indianapolis and San Antonio. That everything is centrally located, the fans are centrally located, everyone's walking. Remember last year out in the desert, how a lot of us were staying in Phoenix. The team was in Phoenix, the fan hotels were in Phoenix, and then the arena was 30 minutes away, the dome was. It just, you never really had that central location where the fans were just hanging out. Not the case in San Antonio and Indianapolis. So you're in for a treat tonight, tomorrow night, Sunday, and Monday night. This is supposedly, according to the basketball people, Taylor, the best city in America to host the Final Four.
Yeah, and I will agree with that because, like you said, last year in Phoenix, it was a little bit of a hike to get to the stadium that they were playing in, and everything is very centrally located here. The team hotels are all in a little cluster, and the outside, all of the decor and the windows and stuff. The hotel that the media is in is right across from the Houston team hotel, and then a block over is Auburn's, and then I think the main area where all the restaurants and bars and stuff like that, where the majority of the fans will be, is right on this street that all the hotels are on. So it is all very, very centrally located because, I walked to and from the Alamo Dome earlier, and it's a 10-minute walk, maybe.
10-minute walk, maybe. That beats a 30-minute driverless car Uber, right?
Wait, I like that thing.
It was fun. Thank goodness we didn't take it all the way down to the stadium, though. That would have been too much. A plethora of Final Four prop bets. We'll give you some of these as we start to wind things down. Um, if we're making bets, though, you're in the home of salsa and guac, and you've got a white top on. Chances of you spilling a little bit of dinner or wine on that white top. When you dress in white, do you ever? Because I used to hate it when I anchored local news. I would always have to wear white. I had a news director for a while that always wanted me either in a white or a blue collared shirt to go with my tie. Those are the only two colors I could wear, white or blue. And when I had to wear the white one, you could count on between the 6 and the 10 o'clock news me spilling either salsa, ketchup, or I couldn't drink wine or some kind of drink right here. When you eat in white, do you spill or do you not spill?
I won't say that I never have, but I'm typically not a super messy eater. Now that I say that, I'll probably spill an entire bowl of salsa on my shirt, but
uh,
I can typically keep it under control.
is the salsa good? Is it different? I mean, being so close to the border there in San Antonio, do you have a little Tex-Mex last night?
We did, and we did it. The salsa was very different. It was good. I wouldn't even consider it salsa. I don't know what it was, but it was. We got one of those sampler um platter appetizer type things that had guac and a bunch of other random stuff. And there was salsa. But there was this other salsa. I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know what was
Yeah.
in it, but it tasted good. There's a lot of variety. I'll say that.
Oh, I love that kind of food. If you said one genre that you had to eat every day, that's my genre. It
Tex
would
Mex.
be Tex-Mex, Mexican, something with salsa. Some people are addicted to alcohol, some people are addicted to coffee, some people are addicted to cocaine. I'm addicted to salsa. Salsa, I
Oh,
can't say no to salsa. You roll it out, I can't stop eating it. You really have to take it away from me.
that's probably the best of the things you
Oh,
just listed, though. So you're in good shape.
probably. Okay, some prop bets in Vegas. Most points scored by one team in any of the three Final Four games, over under 89.5. Do you think any one of these three games, any team scores over or under 89.5? Which way would you go?
Over or under 89 and a half.
Will
I think
anybody
that
score 90 points?
Yes, I think that someone will. Who? I don't know. I have the feeling that the Duke Houston game is going to be the lower scoring game.
Least points scored by one team in the Final Four, over under 65.5. So probably would be in that Duke Houston game.
Yeah,
Would one of them score under 65.5? I don't think so. Do you?
I don't think so either. No.
Yeah. The longest unanswered run in the Final Four, 11.5. Remember, Auburn in their last game went on a 17-0 run against Michigan State early on. Will anybody have a run of more than 11.5 points or no?
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. And the thing is about this is that if a team does, I think that team will win the game as long as they're not coming from behind. If that is if that type of run is to extend a lead, I think the other team's toast because it's so competitive. Because all of the teams are so competitive. I don't think that anyone's gonna have a breakdown defensively enough to come back from to allow an opponent to come back from a lead that large, assuming they're up 2 or 3 going on that run, which I just put a whole lot of stipulations in there.
Highest scoring team in this tournament in the Final Four here. And I will tell you, virtually a tie between two teams, and then another team is 4-1, and another team is 16-1. Who do you think the tie is virtually between? One's plus 140, one's plus 150. Which two teams do you think are considered to be the two highest
The
scoring teams?
Florida and Duke.
Wrong. Florida and Auburn.
Auburn.
Plus 140, plus 150.
Houston's
Florida
got
and
to be the
Auburn.
lowest.
Houston by far the lowest there. Will any of the Final Four games have a buzzer beater?
Ooh, I wouldn't be surprised. Because I think these games are going to be really competitive. But I'll say no. I think I'm expecting these to be close games, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's close and then within the last minute and a half ish, whoever has a lead starts to pull away a little bit.
There are 4 more here. Fun prop bets that you can actually bet on. How many times will they show Coach K during the Houston Duke game? Over under 4.5. He'll be there. How many times will they show former CBS announcer Houston grad Jim Nance during the Houston Duke game? Over 2.5. We talked about that with Furman today. We think that'll go over because they will also promote the Masters, which starts later next week, and Jim Nance will be doing that one. These involve Auburn. Will they show an old picture of Todd Golden working for Bruce Pearl while at Auburn? Do you think they will show that on the broadcast? Yes or no?
Yes. How many times have they talked about the fact that Todd Golden was the director of operations under Bruce Pearl at Auburn? Yes, 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 yes.
Yes.
100% yes.
I asked Steven about that on the show Tuesday. I was like, so basically he was the guy that occasionally would run and get everybody lunch. And then he was very nice and said he also handled booking of the hotels. In that first year, for those that missed it, you can go back and watch Steven with us on Tuesday. We keep everything on YouTube and on our podcast at Apple and Spotify. But he said he also was the guy in charge of booking hotels on road trips. And back then in the first year, Bruce was wanting to save all the money so that he was having to book the cheapest hotels on every road trip they went on. And Steven says now on the team bus, when we're going from the airport to our hotel, we'll drive past those old hotels sometimes. And BP and I will look at each other and laugh and said, hey, remember when we used to stay in that hotel? Not anymore, man. I think
Hey,
that's funny.
keep winning games. Keep winning games.
The last one here will they mention in either game that the 3 of the 4 Final Four coaches are Jewish, and I know
Yes.
Bruce has been very proud of his heritage and the heritage of the coaching staffs that are here.
Yes, I think all 4 of those, the first of the last 4, the first 2 of the last 4 that you mentioned over, the last 2, yes. Because
Yes,
I feel like those
yes,
are the main storylines that we keep hearing over and over, other than Johni Broome's injury, over and over and over and over are the things that you just mentioned.
yeah. All right, that's going to do it here as we start to wind things down. I will ask you for a final thought here, and then tell us what we can expect coverage-wise coming up tomorrow. If you missed it today, Taylor and Forster have sent out all the media day coverage at Next Round Live. Tell us a final thought. save the final thought because it'll be the final thought. Tell us about your coverage tomorrow. How do you see your day unfolding, and what can we expect at Next Round Live?
So I'll try and get out just some atmosphere type things before the game, what's going on around the town. And then we still can't, this is the same as it's been the first 2 weekends and the SEC tournament. You can't film inside the playing area because of the broadcast rights. So during the game, we won't have any, live game action type of stuff on social media. But then after the game, we'll have the players coming off the court and then the players in the locker room either heartbroken or really, really excited. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And that post game reaction will be out quickly. Forrester will have it. Taylor will be sending it out at Next Round Live. And then, of course, we will do the version of the basketball show that we always do in post game to let you guys react in a happy and/or sad and angry way to do that. But either way, we'll be there live. And again, it won't be immediately like regular season afterwards. We'll have Taylor will have time to go to the locker room, get reaction, and then we'll set your alerts pop up and jump on, and we'll do some reaction. That probably will be happening in the near the end of the first half of the Duke Houston game, which follows Auburn and Florida, which starts off the Final Four over in San Antonio. The coverage brought to you by our friends at Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. Your final thought, Taylor, is what?
I think Johni Broome's going to have a massive game tomorrow. And I'll leave it at that. I think he's obviously hurt. I think it's going to be the adrenaline. I think it's going to be proving a point because you can see if you go back and look at some of the locker room video on social media from yesterday of Johni being asked about it. I mean, he's going to be asked about it over and over, and he was responding, giving his answer. But towards I think this was after he had been asked a number of times. You could tell that he started to get a little like, "Hey, I'm fine. I'm going to be 100%." I mean, I don't think that anyone's really 100% other than the guys that sit on the bench the majority of the season. But he seems very, very confident that he is going to be. You're not going to tell the difference.
I will say this. You have the SEC tournament champions in Florida, the SEC regular season champions in Auburn. You have the two best teams in the SEC in the best conference ever assembled with 14 NCAA tournament bids. And these two, fittingly enough, left standing in San Antonio at the Final Four. One of them will play for a national championship on Monday night. We'll see you back here on our Next Round Live platforms, video platforms, and social media platforms all weekend long. Until next time, it's time. It's Final Four time. The basketball show has made it here. All right.
We
Have a
made
great
it.
night, everybody. Enjoy the lead up.